Hello friends and viewers, and welcome to my Leonide character guide. My name is James, I'm a global player and I started playing Sword of Convallaria in September 2024. I'm a longtime strategy and turn-based RPG fan with the Fire Emblem series, Tactics Ogre, and Unicorn Overlord as some recent titles I enjoy. I'm a PvE focused player in Sword of Convallaria. I have no interest or knowledge of PvP. As a global player, I lack the technical knowledge and exposure to the Taiwan and China scenes. As a result, I'm subject to feedback and I'm open to being wrong. If you come across conflicting information to other guides and creators, then there are absolutely multiple ways to play a character. Play your way. As a fun fact about myself, I am a Thai tea boba enjoyer. Leonide's trait is Fearless Charge. In plain terms, movement is part of Leonide's damage rotation and will be key to remember as a core part of his playstyle. For each tile he moves, the more his damage increases. After attacking, he gains a buff to decrease damage taken, which is nice to have during enemy phases. His initial skill is All-Out Pike Thrust. This is one of two of Leonide's main single-target active skills, knocking back units and inflicting stun if causing a collision. The damage of this skill scales with his HP. At rank 1, I recommend Light of Sanctuary. Light of Sanctuary is an instant ability restoring HP or increasing damage and magic defense if the target is unharmed. In early Voyager progression, this is an option for additional healing or even increasing Leonide's own damage prior to an attack. High Alert is technically Leonide's only AoE skill, but only as far as 2 tiles in front of him. If used with Radiant Guard at rank 3, then High Alert can potentially interrupt an enemy's turn. These abilities are unlikely to be part of Leonide's core skill kit, so you can select based on the HP or defense stat gains. At rank 3, your options are Charge Stance and Radiant Guard. Whatever you decide, I recommend using a Castalia for the other skill. Recall with Leonide's trait, tiles moved are part of his damage rotation. With Charge Stance, the movement increase thereby increases his damage. With the Fancy Hat trinket, it also nullifies the straight line movement restriction. However, also recall that All-Out Pike Thrust and Glowing Pike Thrust at rank 11 scale with his HP. Radiant Guard's HP increase thus also increases the damage of those two skills, but the gains are not as high as Charge Stance. However, the knockback effect from Radiant Guard can trigger from gear sources such as Flying Blade Arm Guard and Course of Fortune. Both options may result in different gear and skill loadouts, but I recommend picking up both abilities if it is in your means. Think of Charge Stance as primarily more damage focused and Radiant Guard as more knockback focused. At rank 5, your options are Endure Pain or Guardian's Oath. If you selected Radiant Guard at rank 3, Endure Pain may be more preferable as Radiant Guard grants Leonide immunity to the negative effects of injured. In an injured scenario, Leonide can mitigate even more damage than when he's healthy, and paired with his trait, he can be fairly formidable at taking damage. However, Guardian's Oath triggers an assisting cover. With Radiant Guard, it has potential to completely interrupt an enemy's turn with Leonide striking first, but it does have a 3-turn cooldown. My pick here was Guardian's Oath. At rank 7, your options are Charge Pursuit or Discipline. Which skill you select may depend on what you have picked on Leonide so far and what discipline units you have in your roster. At a glance, Charge Pursuit is a gap closer. With Radiant Guard, Charge Pursuit can function as an additional knockback ability. With a combination of Charge Pursuit, Radiant Guard, and All-Out Pike Thrust, as well as Flying Blade Arm Guard or Roaring Flint, and Course of Fortune, Leonide can perform up to 4 knockbacks in a single turn. Okambe is the only other character who possesses a Discipline Leader's aura. If you don't have Okambe and are looking for Discipline aura, feel free to consider Leonide's. However, for Leonide alone, the cooldown reduction will only impact his Glowing Pike Thrust skill at best. My pick here was Charge Pursuit. For his basic attack upgrade, I recommend Invigorating Attack. Invigorating Attack is the best way for Leonide to use All-Out Pike Thrust on cooldown. You can also use this on structures. Surefire Attack is helpful to guarantee damage on units, primarily Seekers with dodge, where you would not be able to use any of Leonide's skills. At rank 11, I recommend Glowing Pike Thrust. Glowing Pike Thrust has a hefty 6-turn cooldown, but a cheap 1 energy cost. It deals more damage than All-Out Pike Thrust, and also provides a self-heal and a self-dispel, but does not knock back. Try to use this skill early in battle to maximize uses. Parry is a physical damage mitigation skill helpful to stack with Leonide's trait Radiant Guard and Endure Pain. However, it is a lot of investment to build Leonide, a breaker, to sustain damage, when his most efficient playstyle lie behind his thrusts. This is my recommendation for a damage-focused build. Invigorating Strike, Guardian's Oath, Glowing Pike Thrust, All-Out Pike Thrust, and Charge Stance or Discipline. This hones into his movement as a core part of his damage rotation. I do highly advise having Fancy Hat if you're playing with Charge Stance. If you're playing a discipline-focused team and Leonide is your only available aura, consider substituting Charge Stance for the Discipline aura. For a knockback-focused build, we have Glowing Pike Thrust or Charge Pursuit, All-Out Pike Thrust, and Radiant Guard. Choose between Glowing Pike Thrust or Charge Pursuit based on your knockback needs. Remember, the most strategic use case for knockbacks is knocking enemies off the map, so the damage done does not matter. I advise using a damage trinket, such as Flying Blade Arm Guard or Roaring Flint, and Course of Fortune to allow more knockbacks per turn, synergizing with the Radiant Guard passive. For weapons, as iterated, movement is part of Leonide's damage rotation. Nameless Staff increasing movement by 1 tile means he will gain more from his trait. Pendant Halberd is a good option with Radiant Guard to increase his max HP and secure more knockbacks. You can consider Skeleton Spear for a general single target damage increase, or the Silent Guard if you have none of these other options. For trinkets, Fancy Hat is best used when using the Charge Stance skill. With Radiant Guard, you can use Flying Blade Arm Guard or Roaring Flint for more knockback chances. If you don't have any of these three, you can consider Crystal Burst Armor with Radiant Guard to increase his max HP, or Berserk Incense for the increased movement and damage. For tarots, the Fool's Naivety Tarot is a flexible option for either Charge Stance or Radiant Guard. However, if you're unable to secure the damage increase conditions from this tarot, consider another damage tarot such as Hierophant's Laws. Course of Fortune is best used with Radiant Guard for more knockback chances with its AoE attack. For Engravings, as movement is part of Leonide's damage rotation, the Sword and Wand Resonance pairs great with his trait. On the other hand, Pen and Cool Engravings have the highest HP ceiling. If you're primarily knockback focused with Radiant Guard and you don't care about Leonide's damage output at all, consider the Double Pinnacle Resonance. To provide some composition and usage tips for Leonide, among breakers, Leonide has the highest base HP, and among all characters, Leonide has high base HP in general. It's reasonable to funnel into raising his HP, whether to increase the damage of his thrusts or to better activate Radiant Guard. It is a poor idea to utilize Leonide as a dedicated tank. However, with a high HP pool, damage mitigation from his trait, the Radiant Guard passive skill, and even the self-heal from Glowing Pike Thrust, Leonide can still be capable of holding his own for several turns. Leonide is part of the Papal States and Discipline categories. Consider building a team with Leonide around a Papal States leader's aura or his own Discipline aura. For Papal States leader's auras, Karis offers a strong aura to increase damage dealt and reduce damage taken, but Leonide will need external support to maintain the 4 buff requirement. Samantha and Suppression provide a Papal States leader's aura as well. However, I recommend Karis' aura instead if possible, and only consider these if it's your only option. This concludes my character guide. As mentioned in my disclaimer, I welcome feedback and I'm open to being wrong. I'm still learning and improving just like you are. Once again, if you find conflicting information to other guides or content creators, then that means there are multiple ways to build a character and still achieve success. If you have any feedback for me, please feel welcome to comment below. I also have my various social media platforms on this slide here. Last but not least, I want to credit and shout out these resources that helped me put this guide together. Voyage Memento for their character build samples and reference links, the Sword of Convallaria No Potion fan site for skill images and skill descriptions, the Sword of Convallaria Cloud Drop Wiki for skill filtering and gear images, and the Billy Game and GameKey Chinese sites for character art assets. I highly recommend visiting these links to build your Sword of Convallaria knowledge. Thank you so much for watching this character guide, and I will see you in the next one.